A very good morning to all of you, class 6. Welcome back to the English class. Today, this is your personal study, and in this personal study period, what we will do is we will do a little revision of the lesson we learned. Different kind of school. We have done this in the previous class. I'll give you a revision of the lesson, give you a character sketch of the main character in the story, and then we will discuss the question answers. Okay, and there is a poem in this lesson to at the end. There is one poem along with this lesson. We will discuss that poem also, which is important. Okay, the learning outcome of the story was to understand the importance of good deeds and pledging to be helpful and sympathetic. This is the learning outcome. Okay, and this could be the moral. The importance of good deeds and pledging means to promise to help, to be helpful, and to be sympathetic. That means to be kind and considerate towards others. That is the learning outcome of this lesson. Okay, now in this lesson we have learned few. Let me just take you through the lesson. We've learned about the author, Edward Verrall Lucas. I've given you the short summary, a short introduction of the author, and then the summary of this story is that the author visits a school which is run by Miss Bean, and it is a very different kind of a school because they have very different method then, and they function in a very different way. They don't function like your school. They have a very different way of teaching the students. So the author had heard so much about these schools that he decides to visit. Then when he visits the school, he sees that there is a girl, her eyes are bandaged, and there is a younger boy who is taking her around. So the author was quite surprised. Then he goes to meet Miss Beans, who tells the author that the school taught the learners simple spelling, adding, subtraction, multiplying, and writing. But the real aim of the school was to teach thoughtfulness, kindness, and produce responsible citizens. And in order to make the children appreciate and understand misfortune, that means bad luck, they were made to share their misfortune too. That means the children were made to understand and realize how difficult it is for somebody who has some kind of a disability, or who is not fortunate like them. Okay, and they had each term, every child had one blind day, one lame day, one deaf day, and one injured day. On this day, the student has whole day, the child cannot see. There is a blindfold tied, and others are responsible to take care of the student. So in this way, the child who has a blind day, and the other students who are helping that student, they understand the difficulties of anyone who is blind. In this way, they become more understanding, they become more helpful. Okay, by the end of this day, the child realizes what misfortune is, and it makes them more thoughtful. This is a simple short summary of the lesson. Then we read about this particular character in the story, Miss Bean. Okay, she runs the school. Now what is she? She is thoughtful. Okay, she is thoughtful, she is kind, and visionary. That means visionary who can have a visionary. That means somebody who has a bigger objective. Okay, big aim. They have a big aim. So their aim was not only, the aim of the school was not only to teach children how to read and write and add, but their aim was to make children more considerate, more kind, more helpful, and more responsible citizen. That was the vision of the school. Empathetic means being able to understand to being able to empathize with others. That means being able to understand others' problem from their point of view. If somebody is blind, then then being able to understand what is the difficulty of blind person is. Okay, so that is being called empathetic, means to understand others' problem from their point of view. This is the character sketch of Mr. Deems. So if I asked you to write a character sketch, you will have to elaborate this point: how thoughtful she was, how kind she was, what kind of a vision she had, and how did she teach empathy, thoughtfulness and kindness. Okay, so you'll have to write. If you have to write a character sketch, you'll have to write this. I will share this PDF in the Google Classroom so you can see it. Okay, you can keep it as your study material. Okay, now let us go back to the lesson. The lesson here, I want to show you the lesson. We will discuss the question answers. Okay, we will discuss the question answers. Okay children, these are the question answers you have. We have working with the text. Number 1 we have done. Answer the following questions. Why do you think the writer visited Miss Beam's school? You will find the answer in paragraph 1. He had heard so much about the school from different people, and the method, okay, the playway method. So you will find the answer in paragraph 1. If you scroll back to paragraph 1, you will see here that the author had heard a great deal about Miss Beam's school and the different method. So that is the reason he wanted to visit the school. Then number 2, what was the game that every child in the school had to play? You will find the answer in paragraph 9. The game was that every child had one, in a term, every child had one blind day, one deaf day, one dumb day, right? One lame day. That is what you will have to write. Okay, find the answer in paragraph 9. Each term, every child has one blind day, one lame day. Complete the lines. Which day was the hardest? Why is it the hardest? 9, you will find the answer in paragraph 9, 11 and 15. Paragraph 9, you will have to complete the sentence. See, this is each child has one blind day, one lame day, one deaf day, one injured day and one dumb day. During the blind day, their eyes are bandaged absolutely, and they are on their honor not to peep. Okay, so you will have to write this whole line. Then what was the question? The remaining what is that? The question is why was it the hardest? You will find your answer in paragraph 11. Why was this the hardest? Why was it the hardest? Which was the hardest day? The blind day was the hardest day. Why was it the hardest day? Because the girl says that you always feel that you will be hit by something, right? So please find the answer in paragraph 9, 11 and 15. You need to read the paragraph. If I give you all the answers, then you will not read the paragraph. So please read these paragraphs, okay? Then what was the purpose of this special day? What was the purpose? These were all special day. What was the purpose? To make them more thoughtful and more considerate, thoughtful and kind, helpful and kind towards others who have these misfortune, right? You will find your answers in 5 and 9. Read these answers. Paragraph. Match the words and phrases and their meaning in the box. Homesick, you will find this word in the paragraph 3. Practically, you will find it in paragraph 4. It pains me, you will find it in paragraph 7. Appreciate, you will find it in paragraph 9. But you have the answers are already given here in the box. You will have to choose from here. I'll give you one answer. Homesick means wanting to be home. Okay. Practically it will become what it will become? Practically would be almost. Okay, practically means almost. It pains me. It hurts me. Appreciate, what would it be? appreciate would be, okay. So please find these answers. You will find all these words in this paragraph and their meaning here. I've given you it. It means appreciate, means welcome change. Please find the answers, okay. The remaining I'm leaving it up to you. Now this one, rewrite these lines from the story. I will show it to you. Rewrite these lines from the story. I had heard a great deal about Miss Beam's school. How will you rewrite? You will write, the writer had heard people praising the teaching methods at Miss Beam's school. Second, Miss Beam was all that I had expected, middle-aged, full of authority. You will write, the writer found Miss Beam a middle-aged and dominating woman. Then I went to the window which overlooked a large garden. So if you have to rewrite it, then you will rewrite it as the author looked out of the window and saw a large garden. We cannot bandage the children's mouth, so they really have to exercise their willpower. If you rewrite it, and you will write it as the children had to use their willpower to keep quiet. Okay, but this one is, so this is the answer of this particular exercise B. Okay, so I will share this PPT in the Google Classroom. You can check from there. You can write these answers. Now we will, this is, you have to find a dictionary. We can skip this. It is one exercise. You can write it. You have to look for a word. Given below is a page from a dictionary. Look at it carefully and find a word which means the same as ghastly. Write down the name and its two meanings. Ghastly, here there are some words given here. Okay, ghastly, here it will mean terrible. Okay, terrible, where is it? Here, terrible, causing fear. Number 2, very bad. Okay, these are the two words which has means the same as ghastly, terrible. Then find a word meaning a part of the school year. Part of the school year, we call it term. Okay, a term. This is a part of the school year, term. Number 2 is the answer for question number 2 is term. Find a word that means examination. Examination is, what does it mean? Test. The other word for examination is test. Okay, so this is exercise C. We will skip this part. Now make a list of this. We'll skip. Now there's a poem here, a poem for you to read, All But Blind. I will give you a summary of this poem. Okay, now this poem is written by Walter de la Mare. Okay, Walter de la Mare. This is the poem, All But Blind. All but blind in his chambered hole gropes for worms, the four-clawed mole. All but blind in the evening sky, the hooded bat whirls softly by. All but blind in the burning day, the barn owl blunders on her way. And blind as are these three to me, so blind to someone I must be. In this poem, the poet describes 3 animals who are considered blind. A mole lives underground. Okay, mole lives underground, and mole cannot see anything underground. Mole, bat, and barn owl. An owl which lives in a barn. Okay, so the author describes these 3 animals, says that these 3 animals are considered blind. A mole is considered blind. A speaker speaks about 3 animals. They are considered to be blind by us. But all of them, they manage to do quite well. Okay, First, the poet speaks about the mole, says that in spite of its blindness, the poet says that in spite of its blindness, the mole can survive by eating worms and by eating worms that it gropes, that means it's crab, it catch in its chambered hole, that means it closed from all the side, the hole is closed. So somehow in that dark underground, it is dark, right? A mole will catch worms and survive. So the poet says the mole does quite well for himself. We might see that the mole is, cannot see, has that disability, but in reality it is perfectly capable of taking care of itself, right? Then next, the poet speaks about the bat, says that other animals and people say the bat is blind, yet without being able to see, it can navigate itself with ease, okay, flying in the sky freely without any difficulty and feeds itself. So like the mole, the owl is also very capable of taking care of itself, right? Does not take care of is not dependent on anyone else to take care of them. They do survive quite well. That is what the poet says about the bat, that in the evening they fly quite well and they survive, they find food and they navigate properly and they survive. Then third is, the poet speaks about an owl, says the barn owl, it is considered blind, but even the barn owl is able to find itself food and survive, navigate and live comfortably. Okay, that is what the poet is telling. So the poet says that all these three animals, the mole, the bat, the barn owl, they are considered blind, but they survive, but they live, and they live quite well. So at the end, the poet says, blindness is not caused by the loss of sight. That is what the poet is telling. It says that sight is different thing to different people. These three animals, they don't have sight, they don't have vision, but they have strong sense. Okay, so sight is different to different people. Just like mole, bat and barn owl are blind because they do not see as we do, so others also might think we are blind because we do not see things like they do. Okay, here the poet is telling that the sight, the poet says that I might be blind to someone else because I might be not looking at life or looking at things like the other person does. So I might be a blind for him or for her. That is what the poet is trying to convey in this poem, is that sight is different for different people. Okay, and because we see things in a different way, we have a different opinion. So if somebody does not look at things in the same way as we do, we might say that he or she is blind. I will share the short summary in the Google Classroom. You can all go through it. Alright. So I hope, children, the whole lesson is clear to all of you and the question answers. Please read the lessons and write down the question answers. There is no homework. Alright. Thank you.